Hello, my dear students. Myself, Dr. Pitambar Humne, founder Botany for You, and working as Associate Professor and Head Department of Botany, Dharampet Empidev Memorial Science College, Nagpur, Maharashtra, India. I welcome you all in this online platform for the students of Life Sciences, Botany for You. Today, we are going to see the 14th lecture in this lecture series on Angiosperm taxonomy, and today's our topic is principles of classification. In this lecture, we will cover the different aspects which are related to that of the classification. We will see the definition and meaning of the classification, then taxonomic structure, concept of taxa, which includes the concept of species, concept of genus, concept of family, and concept of taxa above family. In addition to this, we will also see the taxonomic characters which are important in the classification of the organisms, then types of classification and some examples of the classification. And the detailed classification we will see in the upcoming classes, which are included in the syllabi of the UG and PG from different Indian universities. So first of all, we will see what is classification. We are dealing with the plant classification. So the systematic arrangement of organisms in different categories or groups on the basis of similarities and differences is known as classification. And with respect to the plants, it is said to be the plant classification. Means whenever we are talking about the classification, or we are classifying the certain organisms which is completely based upon its similarity and the differences. Means if it show the similarity with a particular group, it will included in that group, and if it show the differentness or the different characteristics, then it will be out of that group. And on that basis, here there are the different categories in the plant taxonomy or the systematics, and according to it there are the different arrangements into the groups or the categories of the plants. If we see the structure of taxonomy, then it is made up of the different categories or the groups, which includes generally from the lower to the higher categories, like the species, then genera, family, order, class, division, and kingdom, which are the principal categories that we are routinely used in the classification. If we see earlier, then we know that there are the different atoms, and these atoms are responsible for the formation of molecules. These molecules are responsible for the formation of macromolecules. Then from macromolecules there is a formation of the protoplasm. From the protoplasm there is a formation of cell. We know it is a structural and functional unit of life. These cells are responsible for the formation of tissue. The tissues are responsible for the formation of tissue system, and then formation of organs. And these different organs combine together to form the one organism. Now, if we see this organism, then the organism with the similar characteristics genetically as well as morphologically it is responsible for the formation of species. Such many species form the genera. Many genera form the families. Then it form the order. Then it form the class. Then it form division. Then it form the kingdom, and the kingdom is responsible for the formation of the living world. So in this way, if we want to study the living world, then we must know about the categorization or the grouping of the organism with respect to the particular characteristics. So such type of the grouping or the categorization of the organism, we have to consider it as a classification. Here you can see below the species, again there is a subspecies. Then higher category in the classification is section above the species, then subgenus, and then genus. Means there is a arrangement in a ascending order from the species to the division or the kingdom, and this is known as a taxonomic hierarchy. So on this basis, here all the organisms are arranged systematically with respect to their particular characters, and that is known as the classification. If we see the different categories, then they are known as the taxonomic categories, and earlier in the lecture on plant nomenclature we have already covered this, but then also I have added this table in this lecture also, because whenever we are talking about the different categories or the different taxa, then they are suffixed with a particular letters. So here these are different categories. Total there are 22 categories in plant taxonomy. Out of this, the 11 categories having a specific type of the suffixes at the end of the name. So the largest one here is the division, then subdivision, class, subclass, order, suborder, family, subfamily, tribe, subtribe, and genus. And the division end with the phyta, subdivision end with the phytina, class end with the Opsida, subclass with Opsidae, order with the ALES, suborder with the INEAE, family with the ACEAE, then subfamily with the Oidae, tribe with the AEAE, subtribe with the INAE, etc. So on that basis, we can find out easily the different categories which are given in the classification. So such type of the arrangement of the different categories in the ascending order or increasing order, right from the species to the division, is known as the taxonomic hierarchy. Here are some of the examples which are given with respect to the suffixes. So on that basis, we can easily identify the different categories or the taxa which are included in the classification. If you see the taxonomic concept or the concept of taxa, then why it is important? So you can conclude on the basis of these different diagrams. If you see for the common man and compare that the radish and the carrot. So for the common man, these are almost same and not much more difference among them. And again, if you see these two plants, then they are different for the common man. But if you see through the taxonomist eye, then you will find that the radish is with the botanical name, that is Raphanus sativus, from the family Brassicaceae. Means here Raphanus is a generic name and its family is Brassicaceae. And if you see the carrot, it is the Daucus carota and the family is Apiaceae. Means taxonomically these two organisms having the different genera and even the different family, though they are almost similar type of the organism for the common man. The another example of the cauliflower and the cabbage, which are almost different for the common man because they are looking different. But if we see taxonomically, then you will find that here the Brassica oleracea and only the variety is different. So here the variety is Botrytis and here the cabbage variety is a capitata. So we can say that for the common man and for the taxonomist there are very much different views, and hence for the proper understanding of the organisms there is need of the proper grouping of these organisms into the different categories. So these categories in the taxonomy are considered as a division, subdivision, class, subclass, series, order, family, genus, species, etc. And these different categories are considered as a taxa. Means the different categories in the classification which we are using in the form of either genus, family, order, class, division, etc. These are considered as a taxa. And whenever we have to see one particular taxa, then they will have to share a particular characteristics. Say for example, if we see the class Dicotyledons, then you will find that there are some of the specific characteristics of the Dicotyledon, like the presence of two cotyledons, presence of taproot system, presence of reticulate type of the venation. So on this basis the organisms will consider to come under this Dicotyledon, and hence we can say that the every taxa has its own characteristics, and on the basis of that the other organisms are accommodated or included in that particular taxa. Then the concept of species. There are many views regarding the concept of species. We will see it one by one. Here we have taken a picture to understand the meaning of species, that is the Hibiscus rosa sinensis. So here the hibiscus is a name of the genus and Rosa sinensis is name of the species. Means whenever we are talking about the Hibiscus rosa sinensis, means all the plants will show the similar type of the characteristics, and hence they belong to the one species. So on that basis the different authors considered this species in a different manner. So the first one, that is morphological, typological or taxonomic species concept. And in this concept, what is the species? The species is a group of morphological distinct organisms constitute the species. Means whenever we have to see the community in the plants, out of that if there is a morphological distinct organisms or the group of the organisms, then that morphologically distinct group of the organism is considered as a species according to the morphological typological species concept or the taxonomic species concept. It can be defined as a group of individuals that resembles each other in most of their visible or morphological characters. No doubt, the plants which belongs to this single species or the same species must share the similar type of the visible or the morphological characters. If you see the hibiscus, any variety of the hibiscus or any subspecies of the hibiscus, then you will find that the specific character of this organism will be similar. So, such type of the organism having the similar type of the morphological characters are considered as a species in the species concept that is given as a morphological species concept or the taxonomic species concept. The second one, that is genetic species concept. Now, genetic species concept is nothing but a group of the organisms which resembles each other genetically. No doubt, today we have the knowledge about the genetic constitution of an organism, and the reflection of the character or the expression of the phenotype is completely dependent upon the expression of the genes and the interaction of the environmental conditions. So, no doubt, the species which belongs to the particular group or the organisms of a species will show the similar type of the genetic constitution, and hence it is considered that here it is a group of the organism having similar type of the genetic composition. So, such a type of the group of the organism having the same genetic constitution or the composition, that is known as the genetic species concept. But even any two individuals of the same species or even the identical twins are not genetically similar, no doubt. In addition to the different variations which are found in the organisms are results due to the environmental factors, and also there are few changes among the organism genetically. And even though there is a difference in the genes of the different organisms of the same species, though the maximum amount or the maximum DNA is similar, means genetically they are maximally similar with each other. And hence here, according to this view of the genetic concept of the species, here they are similar on the basis of the genes or the genetically they are similar. In the third view of the species concept, which is the biological species concept, and everywhere nowadays we are adopting this view of the biological species concept. In this, here it is considered that what is that species? Interbreeding group of the organism that can produce the fertile offsprings. Means whenever we are talking about the species, there should be the interbreeding among them. Means they show the crossing in between them naturally, and also if they produce the offsprings, it must be the fertile. Then only such type of the group of the organism is considered as a single species. This means that it is a group of reproductively isolated organisms. Means these organisms of a species which show the interbreeding among each other and produce the fertile offsprings, they are separated from rest of the organisms because there will not be the interbreeding, and if rarely there is a interbreeding, then also they will not produce the fertile offsprings. So, such a type of the group of the organism which is reproductively isolated is known as the species, and this type of the concept of the species is nothing but the biological species concept. In addition to these different species concept, there are some other concept about the species which are considered here in this class as a alternative species concept. First one, that is the evolutionary species concept. in evolutionary species concept that it is a group of organisms that evolve from the pre-existing organism with its own ecological niche. So, every time in the nature there is a evolution of the organism, because an evolution is an unending process, and if the organisms are evolved, they evolved from the pre-existing organism. So, such a type of the organisms which are developing from the pre-existing one with their own ecological state or the niche, then such a type of the group of the organisms are considered as a species according to the evolutionary species concept. Then second one is a selection species concept, and according to this, a species is a group of genetically similar individuals and population maintained as a cohesive unit by a set of selection pressure. Earlier we have seen in a genetical species concept, but here in addition to that of the genetic similarity, here the certain force or the pressure is also considered in the selection species concept. And which type of the pressure? The pressure which is imposed by the environmental factors, mutations, and even the genetic recombination. So that these are different factors which are responsible for the selection of the particular organisms in the nature. And such a type of the selected organisms which are uniform genetically, they are considered as a species according to the selection species concept. The third one, that is the operational species concept, in which a group of the phenetically similar, then inbreeding populations that share the similar ecological niche, then segregation, geographical isolation, reproductive isolation, then ecological isolation, etc. are some of the other factors which are responsible for the formation of the species. So, if such a type of the different things which are operated during the maintenance of the species in the nature, then it is known as operational species concept. The fourth one, that is the ecological species concept, and in this ecological species concept, a lineages or the closely related set of lineages which occupies an adaptive zone minimally different from that of the any other lineages outside its range. Means, if there are the certain organisms and these organisms form a closely related group of the organisms which are separated from other organisms due to the set of environmental conditions, and because of that, outside that set of the environmental condition, the other organisms will be the different. So, such a type of the group of the organism which show the similarity among each other on the basis of their set of the environmental conditions are known as the ecological species concept. Then, if we see the other categories in the classification below the species, then we will find that there are the subspecies, variety, and also the forma. So, such a type of the categories which are present below the species or the level of species, then they are known as the infra-specific categories, means the categories below the species. These infra-specific categories are classified into the two different categories, that is the first one monotypic and second one as a polytypic. So, the monotypic is also known as the non-dimensional species concept, and according to this concept, that is, a species is a single unit consisting of merely one population of interbreeding group of individuals, and no formation of the hybrid under natural conditions. Means if there is a group of interbreeding organisms, here they maintain their constancy or consistency, and it will not show the reproduction with the other organism. Means there is not the possibility of the formation of the hybrids with these organisms. So such a type of the organisms are considered as a monotypic or the non-dimensional type of the species concept. If we see the polytypic or the multidimensional species concept, then a species consists of two or more geographically isolated variable populations, which are not reproductively isolated but can be interbred actually or potentially. Means here, if there are the populations of the single species which are geographically isolated, means they are away from each other by means of the certain land barrier or the water body barrier, and because of that there will be different environmental conditions, and these different environmental conditions are responsible for the formation of certain variations among them. Though there are certain variations among the members of this species, they show truly interbreeding group. So such a type of the organisms when are found in a species, then such a type of the concept of the species is known as the polytypic or the multidimensional species concept. Means even in the species there is a possibility of this variation. So if such a type of the variations are found in the members of particular species which are consistent, then they are used to classify the lower categories of the species which comes under the infraspecific categories. So the first one, that is subspecies. And what is that subspecies? It is an aggregation of phenotypically similar population of a species and differing taxonomically from the population of the species. Means they are phenotypically almost similar, but if we see the certain taxonomic characteristics of these organisms, then they are different. So such a type of the plants are considered as a subspecies. Here you will find these two plants are taken, in which here it is Eurena lobata, and these are the two different species of the Eurena lobata. Eurena lobata subspecies lobata, and here the subspecies the Cyanota. So if we see here, the leaves are cut till the middle, and here the leaves are cut till the margin or till the midrib. So this is the only difference in the leaves, but this is a consistent difference among these organisms. So taxonomically these two characters are consistent and show the differentness in these two organisms, and hence they are considered as a subspecies. The second one, that is a variety. So an individual with the phenotypically distinguishable genetically determined variants. Means here there are the variations, and these variations are because of the certain genes which are present inside it. Here there are the two different varieties, that is Brassica oleracea, variety botrytis, and variety capitata. So in these two organisms, here we find that the very much difference or the phenotypic difference also. and this is due to the change in certain genes. These characters which are found in the varieties are determined by one or few hereditary factors. Means here there are the change in certain genes of these organism which are responsible for the introduction of the permanent changes in the organism, though they are phenotypically distinguishable. But if we see the subspecies, the characters are under the polygenic control. This is the difference in between the subspecies and the variety. Means here the polygenic control means more than one gene are responsible for the formation of the subspecies, while one or few genes are responsible for the formation of the variety. In addition to that, below the variety, again there are the forma, and these forma concept include that the sporadic variants distinguishable by a single character or very few correlated characters is called as the forma. Though if we see the forma of a particular plant, then you will find the maximum similarity among them, but very few characters or the one character will be the different, and this is a taxonomic difference among these organisms. Here we have shown here the Ipomia obscura from the family Convolvulaceae, and this is also the Ipomia obscura. You are able to find out here there is a dark spot inside the corolla, but here there is a absent. So this is Ipomia obscura forma candida. If you see the flora of Marathwada, which is written by late Dr. V. N. Naik sir, then you will find that this is the difference in between these two plants. So in this way, we will be able to identify the subspecies, varieties, as well as the forma, which are usually used in the classification and identification of the organisms. Then if we see the another category above the species, then it is a genera. According to International Code of the Botanical Nomenclature, here the genera includes the many species or single species. If we see this genera, it is either contain single species or a monophyletic group of the species that occupies a given adaptive zone or separated from other genera by a decided gap. So here we have given the one genus, that is hibiscus, Hibiscus rosa sinensis, Hibiscus shabdarifa, Hibiscus esculentus, Hibiscus lobatus, and Hibiscus moschatus. All these are the different species which are included in the hibiscus. So here it is a monophyletic group of the species that occupies the given adaptive zone or are separated from other genera by a decided gap. Means here there are the particular characteristics of that particular genus which show it is different than other genera. Depending upon the number of species which are included in that genera, there will be the variation. If there are the few species, there will be the less variation, and if there are the many species, there will be a lot of variability. If you see the allium, then it contains about the 450 species. So such a type of the large genera having the 450 species show the variability among them. But then also if you see the characteristics of the genera, then all are very well fit as a genera. In the similar manner, here also in the hibiscus we find that there is a presence of such type of the monadal first type of the condition of the stamen in every plant or the every species of this hibiscus. So there are the certain set of the characteristics of a particular category and that are responsible to aggregate or to group that particular species into the genera, and hence on the basis of such type of the characteristics of the genera, the many species are included in it. The next category above the genera, and that is nothing but the family. Here it is either contain the single genera or the monophyletic group of the genera and is separable from other families by the distinct discontinuous feature. Say for example, here if you see the family Asteraceae, then you will find that in the Asteraceae there are the different type of the florets, and these florets may be the ray florets, may be the disc floret. Sometimes these may be the absent, but then also it contain two different type of the florets, that is bisexual florets and female florets. In addition to that, even the neutral florets are also found in the Asteraceae. So if you see this inflorescence, it is either capitulum type of the inflorescence or even there is a presence of head type of the inflorescence. So this is a characteristic feature of this family, and on the basis of this family show the distinctness with respect to the other families. If we have to take another example from the Fabaceae, earlier it was known as a Leguminosae, and the Leguminosae name was on the basis of its fruit, and the fruit type was the legume. And what is legume? The legume is nothing but the dry dehiscent fruit which is developing from monocarpellary superior ovary. So if you see these different plants, like this is Tephrosia, this is Cassia fistula, this is the Acacia nilotica, and this is Abrus precatorius. So in all these, here there is a development of the fruit, and this fruit is nothing but the legume. So this is a characteristic feature of this family, and hence we can say that these families are with the distinct discontinuous feature, because these features are not found in the other families. So such type of the aggregation or the grouping of the monophyletic genera, then it is considered as a family. In addition to this, here there are some other higher categories above the family which are considered as order, class, division, kingdom, etc. Here we have taken an example of the class, that is Dicotyledons. If we see this Dicotyledons, then it is classified into the different subclasses, that is Polypetalae, Gamopetalae and Monoclamidae. We have taken here the two classes, that is Polypetalae and the Gamopetalae. If you see the classification and see the Polypetalae, all the members which are given under the Polypetalae, they are with the free petals, and in the Gamopetalae, all the members which are present here, they show the fused petal. So this is a characteristic feature of the subclass, that is Polypetalae and subclass Gamopetalae. In addition to that, here there is a series, that is Thalamiflorae, Deciflorae and Caliciflorae. In the similar manner, in the Gamopetalae, there are again the three series, that is Inferi, Heteromeri and Bicarpellate. Here in the Thalamiflorae, we have taken an example of the Parieteles, that the plants with this Arjumon mexicana. Then this is the Brassica campestris, and this is the Caparis. So all these three genera which comes under the Parietalis, and hence that will show the characteristics, that is the parietal type of the placentation, and even the characteristic feature of the Thalamiflory. In the similar manner, this rest of the plants will also show the similar type of the characters in the Deciflory as well as in the Caliciflory. Here also you will find that these different plants which are present here, that will show the characteristics of the rosales, and this will show the characteristics of the celestines. If you see the Gamma petali, then again the same, that is here there is a inferi, and it means that the ovary is inferior. So you will find that in this member, that is a Triodax procumbens, this is from the Campanulaceae and this is from the Rubiaceae. So again these different plants which comes under the inferi, that will show the inferior ovary. So we can say that the different categories, even above the family, they will share the particular characters, and these characters are used for the grouping or the categorization of the organism, and that is nothing but the classification. During the classification, we will have to choose or select the certain characteristics, and these characters are considered as a taxonomic characters. According to the Haywood in 1967, defined as the character, it is an attribute of the form, structure, physiology or behavior which is considered separately from the whole organism for a particular purpose, such as comparison, identification or interpretation. Means whenever we are talking about the particular characteristics which is considered to be a taxonomic character, then it should be in the form of the structure, in the form of physiological character or even the behavior, and it should be the completely different from the whole organism. So such type of the characters are considered as a taxonomic characters. Earlier on the morphology, there are many lectures available on our YouTube channel on the root, stem, leaves, inflorescence, flower, fruit, seed, etc. So if you see that, you will find the different taxonomic characters. So here the type of root, that is the taproot and the adventitious roots, means here if there is a presence of the taproot, then it is a dicot. If it is adventitious roots, then it is a monocot. So on that basis we can identify that these are the taxonomic characteristics which are responsible to identify or classify the particular organisms. Then if you see the stem, there are again the different characteristics and modification of the stems also. Then leaves, if you see the characteristic feature of the leaves, then the phyllotaxy, then presence of the stipple play an important role in the plant taxonomy, which are the taxonomic characteristics. Then there are the different inflorescence, that is racemose inflorescence, cymose inflorescence, and again there are the many different types of the inflorescence. So all these types of the inflorescence are equally important as a taxonomic character. Then characteristic feature of the flower, then calyx, that is arrangement of the calyx or the number of sepals, estivation, etc. The similar type of the characters we have to consider for the corolla. Then androecium, number of stamens, type of fixation, number of cells which are present in it, that is monothecous or the dithecous. So such type of the characters will be considered for the androecium. Then number of carpels, number of styles, number of stigma, type of the stigma, then arrangement of the ovals, that is placentation, and number of locules. The ovary is either superior, inferior or half superior, half inferior. So on that basis again we can classify the different plants. Then the different type of the fruits and even the characteristic feature of the seed, because even many families just like to that of the Euphorbiaceae, there are different type of the seeds. If you see again that very different seeds, then you will go to study the Cyperaceae. So in which again we will find the different type of the seeds. So the even the different characters of the seed and fruit are also equally important in the classification and identification of the organism, and hence such a type of the characters which are used in the taxonomy for the classification and identification of the organism, they are known as the taxonomic characters. Then selection of characters means how we have to select the particular character as a taxonomic character. So first of all, if we want to select that particular character, then it must be the consistent character. Means we may not choose the variable characters, so that every time whenever we want to identify that particular organism, then that character must be there, and on the basis of that we can identify that particular organism, and hence such type of the consistent characters which are genetically defined are usually selected for the classification. If we select these characters, then these characters are again classified into the quantitative characters, and second one is a qualitative characters. If you see the quantitative characters means the characters which are measurable, and the qualitative characters means which can be only observed and can be differentiated with the certain sense. Say for example, if we have to see the quantitative character, then number of sepal, number of petal, number of stamen, number of carpel, or size of the leaf, size of the petal, size of the sepal, etc. This can be easily measured. So such a characters are considered as a quantitative characters. So even those characters which do not show the variation, that can be selected as a taxonomic characters. In addition to that, there are the qualitative characters. Qualitative characters like the phyllotaxy, alternate, opposite or fold. Then color of the flower. So such a type of the conditions, even the type of the inflorescence. So all these characters which can be observed and can be sensed with the particular arrangement, then they will considered as a qualitative characters. So such type of the characters which are consistent and either qualitative or quantitative are usually selected for the taxonomic description or the classification of the organisms. The second one, that is the correlation of the characters. If you see the many characters in the organisms, they are correlated. Say for example, if we have to take an example of the monocotyledons, then you will find that in the monocotyledon there is a presence of adventitious or the fibrous type of the root system, presence of one cotyledon, then trimerous flowers. So these are the characteristics which are found in the monocotyledons, and hence we can say that these characteristics will be always present in the same organism, means such a type of the characters are considered as a correlated characters. So such a set of the characters which are already present in a particular organisms are considered for the classification. Then the weighting and rating of the characters, means the weightage to the particular character should be given according to its consistency, and if that particular character is consistent in it, then such type of the characters should be taken or given the priority for the classification or the identification. And if there are the variable characteristics, then such type of the characteristic should be avoided in consideration of the characters. The next one is the systems of weighting of the characters. Means how we have to give the weightage to the particular characteristics. That is the priori or the differential weighting. In priori or differential weighting, the character should be taken on the basis of its consistency and its genetic stability. Means if they are genetical expression, no doubt there will be the stability or the consistency in the characters. And if we see this concept of the priori, then here the more weightage is given to the reproductive characteristics and the less importance is given to the vegetative characteristics. If we see the classification, you will find that here most of them the weightage goes to the reproductive character. So such a type of the system of weighting towards the particular genetic characteristics of the organism, then it is known as the priori or the differential weighting. But in addition to that, there is the posteriori or the correlation weighting. As earlier we have seen in the monocotyledons that it shows the adventitious root, then presence of one cotyledon and trimerous type of the flowers. In addition to that, there is a presence of parallel type of the venation. So these different characteristics which are present in this organism, they show the correlation with each other. And so here if we have to select or we have to give the weightage to the character, then in a posteriori or correlation weighting, we have to give the weightage to such type of the characters which are correlated with each other. In rejection weighting, here there is a taxonomic importance. If we want to use the certain characteristics and if this characteristics is variable, then usually such type of the characteristics will not be seen in the upcoming generations. So such type of the variations which are not consistent among the population, they are usually not considered in the classification of the organism or identification of the organism. So such a type of the character should be rejected, and such a method to reject such variable characters which are not consistent among the organism are considered as a rejection weighting. Then types of classification means the different classification which are given by the different authors, they are categorized into the 4 different categories. That is artificial classification, mechanical classification, natural classification and phylogenetic system of the classification. If we see the artificial classification, then it is based on taxonomic characters as important to man and habit of the organism. Means artificial classification is based upon the particular taxonomic characteristics and which are important to the man and habit of the organism, that is the herb, shrub, trees, liana, climber, twiner, etc. So such a type of the classification is considered as a artificial classification, and the classification which is given by the Theophrastus, Dioscorides, Magnus, etc. comes under the artificial classification. The second one, that is a mechanical classification, and here it is based on one or few taxonomic characteristics to group the taxa. For example, the classification which is given by the Caesalpinio, Bohin, Linnaeus, John Ray, etc. and these different classification which are given by these different authors are based upon one or the few characteristics. And if such type of the classification is there which is based upon one or the few characters for the consideration or the classification of the organism, then it is known as the mechanical classification. The third one, that is a natural classification, and this natural classification means the classification based upon as many as possible taxonomic characteristics to group the particular organisms or the taxa. Means if for the classification of the organism the maximum possible characters are considered, then that type of the classification is considered as a natural classification, so that there will be a natural relationship among them. So we will be able to understand the natural relationship among the organisms which are grouped together. And the classification which is given by A.L.D. Jasu, then A.P. de Candolle, Bentham and Hooker, etc. comes under the category of natural classification. And the last one, that is a phylogenetic type of the classification. And this type of the classification is based upon as many as possible taxonomic characteristics. This is same to that of the natural classification, but with the phylogenetic or the evolutionary interpretation. Means the classifications which are based upon the evolutionary or the phylogenetic interpretations, means which organisms evolved first, which organisms evolved later, and how on the basis of the evolution they are interrelated with each other. If such type of the characteristics or their evolutionary trends is considered in the classification along with the maximum number of taxonomic characteristics, then it is known as phylogenetic system of the classification. And the classification which is proposed by Engler and Prantl, Hutchinson, Takhtajan and Cronquist, etc. comes under the phylogenetic system of the classification. Here there are some of the important types of the classification. That is the classification which is given by the John Ray, then Carl Linnaeus, A.L.D. Jasu, A.P. de Candolle, Bentham and Hooker's, then Engler and Prantl system of the classification, then Bayes, then Hutchinson's classification, Takhtajan classification, Cronquist classification, Thorney's and Dahlgren's system of the classification. In the first lecture, that is Introduction to Angiosperm Taxonomy, a little description is also given about these different classification. Hence, I am not going to repeat the same in this lecture. In upcoming lectures, we will see the classification which is proposed by Bentham and Hooker and the classification which is proposed by Engler and Prantl, which is almost included in the syllabi of UG and the PG. So, in the next lecture, we will see the classification given by Bentham and Hooker in our 15th lecture in this series. So, thank you very much you all for patiently listening of this complete lecture. If you feel this lecture series is important for the students of UG and PG, then kindly like, share and subscribe our YouTube channel and also press bell icon for the alerts of every lecture to be uploaded on the Life Science titles. Thank you very much.